Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to make a summary for Kosumi Kick defense because I realized that a lot of my viewers really like this defense, and I personally recommend it to all my viewers regardless of what your level is. You will find this Joseki very useful. So for the newcomers, the Kosumi Kick is really this Joseki that I'm talking about. It might seem to you, if you haven't watched my videos on Joseki series, you might find this to be very ordinary. Like, what is special about this Joseki? Well, as it turns out, there's so many things to talk about, and I've spent multiple videos to talk about it. Today I would like to add some new stuff, but also I just want to summarize the stuff that we already talked about so that you can find everything inside one video. Alright, so it doesn't matter which way black approach from this side, black approach on top. What we do is we simply Kosumi Kick and we hop out. Now there's a difference between the hop at F4 or the low defense here. I recommend my viewers to pretty much most of the time just play out the F4. The idea behind F4 is that we don't really care that much about the corner right now. All we want is to put max pressure onto our opponent. So let's say, for example, if you actually play out this way, black later on has a very suppressing move, that is to press white at F4. Now you might be wondering, well, what is so good about this F5 pressing move? Let's say you don't play. Black later on has this Kosumi Kick, and then he can go into the corner, forcing you to connect, and then he can Hane on the second line. So that's one of the examples of how black can follow up locally because of the F5 stone. To prevent all that story, what I recommend my viewers do is to just play the jump defense. So against this, black usually makes 3 space extension, because if black plays too close to the 2 stones, this is a little bit against the principles, because now when white approaches, black seems a little bit over concentrated. Black does not have enough eye space to make a life, so that's why most of the time your opponent will play the 3 space extension, either low or high. In the first Kosumi video that you can find in my Joseki playlist, I recommended my viewers to directly invade. Against this invasion, likely black will block. It seems like white is about to put up a fight, but actually all what white wanted was just to Hane and then connect here. Now, as I've talked about many times, this leaves a very awkward situation for black. Black really wants to add an extra move to make sure everything is okay, but black is also worried about over concentration in this area. So likely, if black plays smart and then he doesn't worry about this part later on, white can clamp at B8, and this is a very big move. Later on, there's a Hane here, so black has to pretty much defend this. And then that's just territory, right, for white, and black has absolutely no territory. I'm not saying that this game is over. Actually, it is quite equal if both players play like this. But I think it is just very easy to manage from the white player's perspective, especially for single digit Q player as well as the down level players. What we hope for is really for black to play here. Now we can see that black is having pretty much 6 stones, over concentrating over here, while white has very efficient territory. Even if we just play a slow move and secure our territory here, we can see this is just a lot of territory. This is definitely more than 20 points already in our pocket. It's a very comfortable position moving on. That is more or less the first lesson. in a very quick summary, right? Like if you want to figure out the details, as I've said, you can go ahead and watch the Joseki series. So we talk about that, and then we said, well, what if black plays d10? What are some of the follow-ups? Well, in that case, our correct follow-up is to play this b8. This is a very good move. Even in terms of win rate, it's definitely in the top 3. So against this move, black has the traditional attach. We can Hane. Now black has to block here. We can Atari. Black connects. White can now connect back. Black Ataris. White connects. This is the standard Joseki, which I also find to be very pleasing for white because of the amount of territory that white is able to get. Right. This looks absolutely just pleasing. It's very pleasing. Black obviously has a lot of arguments to say that this is an equal game because he has a very strong group now that is exercising a lot of influence towards center. But the first thing we can tell is that our F4 stone is limiting the center, and also the fact that black doesn't really have 2 eyes. Black's very thick at the moment, but we don't know what's going to happen in the game. Maybe later on as the game progresses, black might become a target of attack. All right, so what if black does not allow white to claim the territory? Well, in that case, we can just hop out. Black has to prevent this cut, right? So if black is not very careful here, well, basically these guys will be under a lot of attack. Even if white plays a very bad move, such as, like, I wouldn't say this is a bad move, but, you know, let's just say white simply disconnect, then these guys have to run for a very long time, right? Let's say, for example, now I don't even know how to play from here, but I guess you understand, you can see the idea, right? Is that these guys, if you have to run, not to say you have to suffer here, but let's just look at, you know, by playing moves like this, right? White is able to further strengthen the territory. So that's why black has to play here, and then white follows up with this big knight move that very simply gets out, right? If black pushes and then you know, tries to cut, well, this is awesome for white because it looks like it's a very good shape for black, but look at how over concentrated it is, right? This is a super concentrated area for black. It's very inefficient. White can follow up with this very nice formation plus a very beautiful flower here. This part is extremely hard to invade right now, right? So this is a leading position for white. So black's definitely not going to try to cut, which means that white is successfully out. Later on, with the potential to, you know, to Hane here, right? To still disconnect black over here. All right, so that is, well, that is pretty much the locally what's going to happen. What are follow-ups for white? This is old theory. Obviously, black could have defended in a smarter way. Is that at this point, black can directly play the 3-3 invasion. White has to extend, and then when a black blocks here, white can come back. Now white does not want to play this because now with the exchange, black has exchanged c3 against b5, which is a horrible exchange for white. So white is not going to accept this variation anymore, and then we have to stay very flexible and just kill the stone off here. Black needs to add another move to prevent the Aji over here. So this becomes also a equal position. White can follow up with a small knight, strengthen the corner. But as we can see, white already has a pretty much a solid corner, and this corner is also impeccable. So these are all territory here. Also a very pleasant position for white as well, if you love the territory. All right, so these are kind of the old theory. Obviously, there are many occasions many occasions that my viewers have asked me before that if I don't follow up, okay, and then what if black plays a c3, right? How do I deal with this? And this is why most people are kind of reluctant to play the f4. But when we have this type of position, we're not really afraid of the invasion here. The correct move is for white to directly descend. There's obviously more things to say about what if white blocks here. You can also go back. It's in one of my invasion. It's in one of my invader series video. I talk about this invasion. I don't recommend my viewers to block here. It's too passive. The correct move is for white to extend. Now, at this point, if your opponent is not a high Dan level player, it is very easy for them to make mistakes here. Let's say, for example, a lot of Dan players even would play out this one. This is a inaccurate move because white can play the Kosumi. If black extend, we can basically cut black off over here. If black pulls back, we can play the tiger's mouth, and now white is very strong on the outside. Maybe we will let black get this peep over here, but that's it, right? So now if black wants to live, he has to go back and live in this way, which is super inefficient and it's very tiny. White can play out the k3 as a follow-up, and then this group is very strong, and then this eventually will probably become white's territory. In the meantime, now black's side over here is even more hurt because of this b5 move. Right now, invading this part is like a joke, right? Like white can do it anytime, and then black has pretty much just have to give up everything. And then another more serious mistake is probably for your opponent to play the big knight. This is also talked about. It's directly, it doesn't work, right? Technically, it doesn't work because we can just cut black off like this. Even if black plays correctly, like this. After DC exchange, if ladder works for us, we can hane. We can first of all exchange these. The ladder works, we can play here. Whether ladder works or it doesn't work, we can always play the h3, right? This is also a fantastic move. If black extends, we can just play a small knight, and this is a very good position for white because black spends so many moves on the second line very early in the game. It's true he got a little bit of a territory and got rid of our territory, but white got very thick on the outside, and then these moves has a lot of influence towards the right side. Not to say that, once again, black's side becomes a lot weaker because of the b5 move. This is also a fantastic position for white. You should definitely play out this position if you got invaded. That's what I have to say about the invasion, right? Like a lot of people would be, I know a lot of players would want to play this, but this is just way too passive. It's not, in my opinion, it's not acceptable, especially to play moves like this. You should definitely erase this variation from your mind. It's just not something that I have ever seen in a professional game. Alright, so that's a big summary of what we have covered at this point. Obviously, there's a lot more stuff that I covered. I've also said why white does not want to play this move directly, because black can attach and double hane. This is a very strong move. If white counterattacks, we can just capture. Now black transfer all the profits towards the right side. This is a great position for black, basically. Today I want to cover a little bit of a new stuff, just to complete our repertoire. This is also for the fans who are, for the viewers who are fans of this Joseki, is that I want to talk a little bit about what if white has a stone over here? What's going to be different about our follow-ups? And also, if black plays here, right? And then if we have a stone over here, what are some follow-ups? So, well, let's first start with a high pincer. So, of course, well, obviously you can also pincer like this, right? This is also a very great move. But I'd say a better a move with better follow-up is for you just to pincer high. This is also great, and I encourage you to play out in this way. So if white plays here, it's very important to keep in mind for black that you cannot tanuki here. Let's say if you, I don't know what's the best move here. If you play some move over here, let's say for example, white will immediately invade at d8. This would mean that this move is actually inaccurate and we can punish it with this follow-up. The follow-up is so strong. If black plays here, we can hane. Black has to cut. And then all of these are pretty much forcing moves, right? So black has to connect. And now we can drag the stone back. At this point, black obviously cannot play this one because we can cut. Now there's a miai. White is threatening to ladder here, which black has to fix, and then we can ladder the stone here. Now white was able to claim tremendous profits over here, but also black is still not alive. And in fact, white will attack this group immediately, if black does not react. This is a fantastic position for white. So obviously at this point, black will probably play out this one and then, just come back. But it's more or less the same idea. Even if white just play a move to fix everything, this is also a terrible position for black because white was able to gain so much territory on the side. And all of these are pretty much forced. So, so either in your casual game or in your tournament, you can try this pincer out against your opponent, and then if your opponent did not pay attention, you immediately invade at d8, and then there's absolutely no way for black to refute the variation, right? Because at this point, black pretty much has to connect the two groups. If black does not connect two groups, it just gets a lot worse. If you just hop out, then we won't even allow you to connect, right? We can just play a bamboo shape. And then this is all completely cut off. These guys either going to die or have to run for a very long time. These guys are having tons of security problems. So that would be even worse for black. So against this move, black needs to attach here. White hanes, and then black pulls back to make sure that this part is okay. Now, depending on the situation, white can just fix. It seems like white spent some moves over here, but it actually helps out the corner. If white wants to be fast, we can just tanuki here. That's no problem. If black cuts, we can just pull the stone back, and that's no problem. So that's the follow-up that I want to cover. Well, what if black has a stone on the third line? Well, then our approach will be also on the third line. Now, against this move, if black does not answer, so this is a little bit awkward already for black. If black answers, it's a little bit repetitive, right? This is a good move, but it seems to be a little bit over-concentrating on this area. And this exchange just seems to be slightly better for white. But if black does not fix, the next move we can directly invade on the third line. Now this time we're not going to do the hane here, because if you still do this, black will happily fix. And now our stone is way too close to a very thick group, which is against the principles of, you should stay away from your opponent's thick group. Because now, well, what's wrong with, me attaching to this group that is very thick? Well, the problem is next, black will counterattack and cut you off. Okay, so since we have a stone here, then we have to adjust our strategy. Instead, we will play the Hane here, and then we'll Atari on top. It looks a little bit similar to what we talked about. White can now push on top. Black's best move is actually just go back and capture the stone here. Now white will follow up by playing here. White was able to squeeze black and also gain a very strong influence. So this is definitely worth a move, and this is definitely a slightly leading position for white. Now your opponent might not agree, and he might actually resist. The problem is that it's almost like a trick, right? The more your opponent resists, the worse it's going to be for him, because at this point, whether black connects or Atari and connect, he's going to get a sente locally. The problem though is that if black does not react, black does not spend an extra move here. Let's say for example, he plays somewhere else, he thinks it's fine. Well, actually, if white does not know what to play here, black is fine. Because if you just extend, black can actually block here. If you Hane, we can wedge here. White is not going to be able to pull the stone back. However, when white plays a Tsuji here, this is really going to hurt black. Because at this point, if you block here, we can just Hane. And then if you play out this one, we can connect. And then this looks like it's going to be a 4 versus 3. So black is killed here, and these guys have to desperately run for their lives. So that is a game over situation if black blocks on the outside. Black can only try to connect. White will pull stone back, which is a sente. Black has to capture. The more serious problem right now is that the entire group is dead. So that could be instantly game over right here. Right? There's no way to make a life. If you play here, I can just Hane. And then I personally don't see a way for black to get out. So this would be game over if black does not react here immediately, which shows you. So now black will probably fix in a very efficient way by playing b6, which later on leads to, white is able to extend and then squeeze this group. So either way, if black fix here or fix here, it doesn't matter. The point is that white is able to gain a very strong influence and a sente to play on the outside. So this is a leading position for white for sure. And your win rate is probably going to be 90% at this point. It's not even like a 70% lead. Okay, so I guess that's some of the stuff I want to cover. So we reviewed some of the Kosumi Kick stuff, and we add a little bit new stuff in there just to add more things to our repertoire. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.